私が話してるのは人間?
Saw this at an early screening in Hong Kong and I absolutely loved it. So you know I gotta talk about it. But before I start this video, rest in peace to Ryuichi Sakamoto. He is the composer for this film. For those who don't know who he is, Sakamoto is a legend in the world of composing, scoring films from Merry Christmas Mr. Lawrence to recent hits like The Revenant. He even scored himself an Oscar for The Last Emperor. Sakamoto is no doubt one of the most influential composers, giving us some of the most moving scores cinema has to offer. You will forever be remembered for your influence on cinema. Alright, let's talk about Monster. This film is just wow, as the credits roll. I sat there silently staring at the screen. I was completely stunned. This complex, heartfelt film is probably one of my favorites so far this year, and I can't wait for more people to see it. So get your tickets ready as we travel to Japan. Oh, and like this video, or we won't have enough gas to reach our destination. I for sure don't want to land in the middle of the ocean. Let's first start the plot. A mother demands an answer from the school when his kid begins to act strangely. Soon, a teacher gets accused and blamed for the child's disturbing changes. But what is actually going on? Who is at fault here? Is it a kid? Is it a teacher? Or is it something more? Everyone seems to be harboring their own secrets. As the story progresses, more and more pieces of the puzzle begin to surface, until you're led to an ending that will leave you with emotion swimming in all directions. The director of the film, Kore-eda Hirokazu, is known for films that tackle social issues around Japan. I've seen a few of his other films like Shoplifters and like Father and Son. They're terrific. Do check them out. Monster is another complex film that tackles subjects that are rarely discussed in Japanese films, and it does an amazing job of addressing those matters. I went into the film not knowing anything, which is great, as knowing anything more will ruin your experience, so don't read anything about it whatsoever prior to seeing the film. Don't read any reviews or watch any videos. Nada. It needs to be viewed that way. Without saying too much, Monster feels like Rashomon meets The Hunt. Both are some of my favorite films. Rashomon, a slightly older film made from the 1950s, and is a film that is said to have changed the way films are told. There's even a term called the Rashomon effect, and Monster applies that technique to its film. Rashomon effect is when storytelling uses a non-linear structure, and utilizes different point of views to tell a story, making each perspective unreliable, until you see the whole picture for yourself. Monster utilizes this technique, as the film feeds us hints. We have to decide if the source is reliable. The Hunt is another great film that more people should see as well, and follows Mads Mikkelsen, probably one of his best performances, who plays a teacher who gets accused of committing an act. One lie leads to another, leading to an ending that will shake viewers up. Monster is a similar synopsis, but is more complex. So first, let's start with the screenplay. It is phenomenal. It won the best screenplay at Cannes. Although I have not seen any of the nominated ones, I can see why this film won. Monster is a film that is very subtle and never spoon feeds its audience, while other than this one moment, you see it when you watch it. But if we look past that one scene, the film is overall very indirect. The tiniest action of the characters all means something in the film, if you pay close attention to how they move and their gestures. I appreciate it so much, as even without the dialogues, you're still learning something about the characters, and those tiny action plays a huge role in the last act. All this is perfectly transcribed to the screen, due to its well-written screenplay. The film is split into 3 parts, and follows 3 different perspectives. Each part gives viewers hints, but not enough for viewers to fill in the whole picture, so you're left eager to complete this mystery of a puzzle. Trust me, you won't see the ending coming until the last 20 minutes, because if you did, well, I think you can write your own screenplay. When the film finally reaches its ending, and you fit in the last piece of the puzzle, you'll be left with tons of emotions to digest. I sure did. The editing for this film is also top notch. It kind of feels like a Wonga-wai film, and it is very tightly edited, yet it doesn't feel jarring or jumpy. The film would show a scene and suddenly cut to the next scene, and the audience would still be able to piece it together even though the timeline is not quite linear. It weaves together so smoothly that you don't even realize it has cut to the next scene sometimes, yet your brain somehow knows. Viewers are automatically able to fill in the pictures. There are no extra or unneeded shots for this film. Every shot has its purpose, and is there long enough to say what it needs to, before cutting to the next scene. The acting is also just as good. The kids here deliver some of the best performance I've seen in a while. I especially love one of the kids who plays Fushimi. His eyes seem to be acting as well, in every scene. His eyes seem to sparkle and tell a story of their own. The film does carry some difficult topics, and the kid somehow manages to portray those characters and deliver all the right emotions. The actress who plays the mother also does a terrific job, as she can really be placed in her shoes and understand her struggle, as she tries to understand what her son is going through, even though no one seems to be able to help her, and everyone seems like they have something to cover up. You feel her frustration. Even though she tries to keep herself calm and composed, yet you feel her crumbling inside, as she struggles to help her son. The main character, the kid Minato, is such a complex character. The actions that he does might seem out of place at first, but when you understand his character, you realize how difficult it is to play such a role. He played the role perfectly. The only character that I didn't quite like is the principal, as she speaks in such a monotonous tone that it dragged me out of the film slightly. But overall, I think everyone gave solid performances, as really, the topics covered here are tough and not easy to portray. So good job everybody. The score here of course is going to be great. However, I have one complaint. Not enough score. I wanted more scores as it was so good. Whenever the score plays, you feel emotions start swirling in your chest, and it perfectly complements the scene and helps amplify whatever emotions the scene is already trying to transcribe across. The film is surprisingly quiet, I have to say, which overall does work for the film as it makes everything more secretive. So I guess I understand why the filmmakers decided not to use the score as much, as it may overpower the storytelling. Overall, this is a near perfect film. I think the film is very well paced and keeps its viewers guessing and wanting to understand the overall picture, and most of all, it is a film that has a lot of heart. However, I did find the last segment to be a tad too long. The first two segments overlaps quite a bit as we see the angles from different perspectives. So when the last act came, I was eager to see how the overall picture fit together. However, the last act focused more on a story about the kids, which is a very important segment, but I found it to be slightly repetitive as that scene runs for a good extra 20 minutes longer than the previous two segments. But when you finally see the overall picture, that segment makes the film that much more powerful. Now that I know where the story is headed, I can honestly say on my second viewing, I would appreciate the last segment that much more, as I can finally slow down and analyze and discover the extra small details that I missed that help pave its way towards the ending. Monster is a film that has a lot to say, but what I love most about the film is its social commentary and how much heart this film has. I walk out the cinema with copious amount of emotions, and that was a great thing. If a film doesn't play with the emotions, it has felt its job miserably. By now you must be wondering what the monster symbolizes, or if it's a metaphor for something, or who the monster is. Well, that is for you to find out. I'm not going to tell you anything. Go see it for yourself. I hope this film gets released overseas soon, as this is a film that has terrific character study, and a social message that is so powerful, it will leave a lasting impact on you. That I am sure. Have you seen Monster? Do you plan to see it? If you did, what did you think of it? Comment below and let me know, and as always, subscribe for your next travel ticket.